皆さん、こんにちは。ミッキー京子です。今日はですね、ここにとてもスペシャルなゲストをお招きしています。彼女はですね、若い頃から何かこう不思議な体験をたくさんしてこられた方なんですよ。それを伺いたいと思います。でも最初にいろんな国やいろんな州を回ってらっしゃいますので、どこに行かれたのか、まずそれを伺いたいと思います。Oh, first of all, would you tell us your name, please?
My name is Peggy. Peggy.
Peggy.
Peggy.
Peggy. Thank you, Peggy.
Yes.
Well then, can you hold it and then please use this part? Um, Please tell us the country you visited.
Oh, I have visited several countries, not all over the world, and I've never been to Japan. But of course, I am in North America,
Mhm,
and I have been to Canada
mhm,
and Mexico
mhm.
and several islands here in the Caribbean.
Oh.
Um, I have been to several countries in Europe,
Mhm,
Ireland,
mhm.
the United Kingdom, and there I've been to England,
Mhm.
Wales, and Scotland.
Oh.
Let's see, I've been to Italy,
Mhm,
Switzerland,
mhm.
the Netherlands.
Yes.
I think that's all the European countries. And then I have been to Africa,
Yes.
to the country of Egypt.
Yes.
And that's, I think, all of them.
Yeah.
I've
A lot of country.
been.
I've never been to another country except America.
Ah,
I mean, of course, Japan, but
uh-huh.
you visited many countries. Okay, now
Oh,
is
yeah.
United States. Then please, how can I hold it? Is this okay?
Turn that
This,
that's got yeah, that's good. That's got the light on it correctly. Well, this is North Carolina. This is where I live now.
yes.
I spent a great deal of my life in Tennessee,
Mhm,
the state right next door to North Carolina.
mhm.
But I have visited
Yes.
the majority of these states at
Yes.
one time or another. So from North Carolina, I've been to South Carolina,
Mm,
Georgia,
mm,
Florida,
mm,
Alabama,
mhm,
Mississippi,
mhm.
Arkansas,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Kentucky,
Mhm.
Virginia,
Yes.
Maryland,
Mhm.
West Virginia,
Mhm.
back over to New Jersey,
Yes.
Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and let me backtrack to Connecticut,
Mhm.
Massachusetts,
Mhm.
New York,
Yes.
and then back to Pennsylvania to Ohio,
Mhm.
Indiana,
Mhm.
Michigan,
Yes.
Illinois,
Yes.
Iowa,
Mhm.
Missouri,
Mhm.
Arkansas,
Yes.
Texas,
Yes.
New Mexico,
Uh-huh.
Arizona,
Mhm.
Colorado,
Uh-huh.
Utah,
Yes.
California,
Yes.
Oregon,
Mhm.
Washington.
Wow.
And then I've also been to Hawaii and Alaska,
Oh.
which is not a part of this map.
Mhm.
They're shown down here, but they're not in that location. They're further away.
That's right.
And this is part of Canada up above us. I've been in several places in Canada, in Quebec,
Mhm.
Ontario,
Mhm.
and British Columbia.
Wow, my goodness. Well, one day I'd like to ask you how you how you could travel so many places because traveling costs a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm sure you had lots of money.
Not really. Not really. All of the travel in the well, not all of it, but most of the travel in the United States was done by car. rather than flying, because flying is so much more expensive.
Right.
And but I have always had what some people call wanderlust,
Wanderlust.
wanting to travel, wanting to wander.
I see. And then I'm sure you had lots of stories to tell us.
Oh yes,
Okay.
oh yes.
Well, I will put it aside. And today I'd like to ask you about your childhood.
Ah,
Well, I understand your grandfather was a kind of person, liberated, kind of. Yes. So please tell us.
well, my grandfather and his brothers owned various different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And they always wanted the children and the grandchildren to be a part of those things wherever possible.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 10 years old,
Yes.
my grandfather and one of his brothers
Mm-hmm.
sat me down to tell me, you are a part of this family,
Mm-hmm.
and we want you to understand
Mm-hmm.
that you can do anything that you set your heart to do.
Yes.
And that's not so unusual for families to do that. But what was unusual
Mm-hmm.
is that my grandfather said, don't ever let being a girl stop you from doing what you need to do.
Mm. Can I say it in Japanese?
Yes.
Please. ペギーさんは、とても重要なことをおっしゃいました。彼女が10歳の時におじいさんと、それからその兄弟の方が2人ですね。ペギーさんに、はい、ここに座りなさい。そしておっしゃったんですよね。あなたはこの家族の一員で、その家族はこういろんな新しいことをやってらっしゃったんですよね。それであなたも自分がやりたいことをやりなさい。そして女の子だからといってできないとかそういうふうに思ってはいけないよとおじいさんとその兄弟の方がおっしゃったんだそうです。That's wonderful, a very good message.
Yes.
And then, did you think about what you wanted to do?
Well, I would travel always. I
Ah.
just wanted to travel. My family owned a grocery store and a garage, gas station and garage, and because of that, we could not travel very often.
Yes.
The most that we could do would be like a 2 days where
Yes.
they would hire, I mean, they had other employees, but they would leave the business on like a Saturday and a Sunday. And so really we only had a couple of days to travel, and that was heartbreaking to me because I so wanted to travel. And we did travel wherever we could in that small radius of a 2-day time period. And I think that's what motivated me to travel as soon as I was able to travel. And as a very young woman, I, I mean, I graduated from high school in the 1960s. So I was not making very much money at all for my first job. Nevertheless, I was able to drive to places, and I traveled to many of the states that are near. I lived in Tennessee at that time, and I traveled to every state that was adjacent to Tennessee, and then some a little further than that,
I see.
even in those early days. And then when I married, my first husband was from Chicago, Illinois. So we frequently went to Illinois, and he also had that wanderlust.
Oh.
So we traveled up and down the east coast of the
Mm.
United States, and traveled as often as we could. And again, had very little money. But and we camped. We often we would, we when we could go for a week or whatever, we'd take our tent and we'd camp. So we were able to see and go much further than we would have been able to if we'd been trying to fly or stay in hotels and things like that. So
Good. One moment, please. 短く、言いますね。えーっと、彼女の家族は、グロッシュストア、お店ですね。いろいろなものを売っていらっしゃるお店をやったり、それからガラージもやって、それからガソリンスタンドもやってらっしゃって、なかなかトラベルすることはできなかったんですね。まあ2日ぐらいはできたんですけど、それであのちょっとそれは残念で、長い休暇を取ってあの旅行に出かけるということはなかなかできなかったんです。それで彼女は自分がそういうふうにできるようになったら、車でこのテネシーからその近くのところですね、そこを行きまして、結婚したご主人も同じような心を持ってらっしゃったので、彼はシカゴからいらっしゃったんですけれども、2人でキャンピングをしながらいろんなところを回って行かれたそうです。うん、Thank you so much. I think it's wonderful that you could do camping.
mhm.
And if you go to a different place, I'm sure there's something you always learn something from the travel.
Yes,
Mm,
yes, always,
yes,
always.
always. People and the weather and things, and it's so different. And America is a huge place.
It is very, very different. I've been to several countries in Europe, and each of those countries have their own culture and their own, way of living, and sometimes even houses look different from
Mm-hmm,
one country to another.
mm-hmm.
But there's, strangely enough, I think there's more diversity in the United States
Oh,
than all of Europe.
wow.
Because I mean, I think that's probably because Europe, even though it's a number of different countries,
Mm-hmm,
they're closer together. And so over the thousands of years of history,
mm-hmm,
they've had more in common.
mm-hmm,
And we are such a young country,
mm-hmm.
and people have come from many, many places in the world.
Yes.
And so we have this, it's often referred to as a melting pot.
Yes, melting pot.
So we have these cultures from all these different places that flow together and create a new culture.
I agree. Yes,
Yes,
that's
yes.
right. Well, oh, one moment, please. It's almost time, but I'll say it in Japanese quickly.
Sure.
今、ペギーさんがおっしゃったのはですね、アメリカは一つの国ですけれども、そしてヨーロッパはいろんな国がありますけれども、そのヨーロッパの国々よりもアメリカの中でいろんな違いがあったと旅行した後に感じておられます。それはですね、ヨーロッパは歴史をずっと一緒に共有してきたわけですよね。でもアメリカはかなり若い国で、しかもいろんな国の人たちが来ていますから、その中にもうメルティングポットとおっしゃいましたけれども、そのようにいろんな人種が混じっていろいろな違いがあった。ヨーロッパの国を訪れた時よりももっとそれを感じたとおっしゃっていました。ですね、時間が来ましたので、またこの次のセッションでやります。Okay, Peggy, let's have a break.
All right.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.